Hey there, gang. We're coming up on around 2 weeks ago now, I believe, since I released my video on the PTB clown changes. And for those who haven't seen that yet, a short summary, clown is going to be a whole lot worse overall. He isn't able to really do as well at singular tiles. You're probably going to be breaking a lot more pallets, but in exchange, it's a lot easier to use his yellow bottles. His pinks are worse. In fact, I'd go as far as to say borderline useless, which is going to be a major reason as to why I'm making this video here today, which we'll get into in just a minute. But yeah, that is basically the main problem and real kind of center of clown going forward is that you're just going to be spamming yellows now. You're not going to be using your pinks. You're not just like how before clown players that weren't really experienced weren't using their yellows and were only using their pinks. We're not really seeing much of a change in that light. I don't want to spend like this whole video talking about things I talked about in the last one, right? So going forward here, what I kind of wanted to look at to really drive home my point about how pink bottles are useless. I really don't see much of a reason at all to be using pink bottles on clown post-patch, especially when you've got things like Vigil in play. And, you know, that's not even taking into account how much weaker Clown's add-ons are going to be. You would only be having at most 1.5 seconds of hinder duration with either 15%. At base, it's only going to be 1 second. So you even start reducing that. Like I said, with Vigil, it's going to be non-existent. You factor in ping, you're probably not getting anything when it comes to denying fast faults. So my point, right, is that everything is going to be around making the yellows stronger. And that is why I believe with this test, what I wanted to look at is that if you make Clown's pink bottles better, and by better, I mean even just returning them to the base kit values that they were pre-patch. This is 15% for 2 seconds. They don't need to reduce it to 12% for 1 second. That is egregious. It is game-changing when it comes to, again, playing singular tiles, but even just having the incentive for using your pink bottles at all. So what I ended up doing with this test is I purposefully limited myself to these two specific add-ons here, Sticky Soda Bottle and Smelly Inner Souls. These two add-ons simulate the base kit buff for the most part that the developers are looking to propose. The only main difference is that we don't have the larger clouds from Spirit of Hartshorn, as well as the 0.5 second faster reload from Thick Cork Stopper. However, we also in return, right, given that there is no pink bottle nerf, we are going to be using pink bottles at a greater state than they ever would have been post-PTB patch, regardless of the add-ons. You could be running Flask of Bleach and either 15%, and it will pale by comparison to just the base kit pink bottles at the current moment. 15% for 2 seconds versus something like, 14% for 1.5 seconds? It is just ridiculous, like, to honestly think about the state of pink bottles now versus what they will be possibly in this idea, you know, this proposed changes, assuming the developers don't go back on that. That is why I was very adamant in my previous video, even going as far as to offer suggestions that would achieve the goal that the developers I felt were going for without hurting Clown overall when it comes to using his yellows and pink bottles, right? So what I've got for these builds, I've got 2 matches for y'all. We're going to be using chase builds in both matches. I have Coup de Grace, Zanshin Tactics, genetic limits, and batteries included. We'll do a, like with every video, a brief build description. Coup de Grace gives me an extra 80% lunge range every time I lose a generator for 2 lunges. This is something that I especially am looking to highlight in this video with these matches because there are some instances, which I even showed in the PTB changes video, where the reduced and nerfed pink bottles meant that even with Coup, I was not able to hit survivors before they made it back to a pallet. And what I did find interesting about some of the criticism to me demonstrating that, there were people who felt that I was wrong and that I don't know better. You're allowed to think what you want, but again, just for people who need a reminder, I've got 7,000 matches of Clown, 7,000. I've used Coup de Grace according to the Behavior official website, and that's also with the 7,000 matches statistic. I've got about 40% of my matches with Coup, which means I've got about 3,000 matches of Coup. But not only do I, again, 3,000 matches of Coup, I have them on Clown. So I have a very, very well-versed familiarity when it comes to understanding speed disparity from both Clown and Coup de Grace, right? With the lunges being boosted by the yellows. I very well understand, also, you know, taking into account survivors being slowed by the pinks, I very well know from experience what I can and can't get. Now, you don't have to believe me, like I said, but it just, again, bears to question kind of what your basis is. If you disagree, I am curious in a lot of ways what people have their basis on when it comes to their belief that it wouldn't have hit. Very, very interesting. But yes, we have a chase build here using Coup de Grace, Zanshin Tactics. This is to kind of give you foresight for pre-planning, which is like I've used Zanshin Tactics before in the past up till now. It's so you know where to put your bottles ahead of time. And one of the problems beforehand, right? Preemptive placement is kind of discouraged due to the faster activation times, but using Zanshin Tactics in this build means that I can keep up my momentum. I don't have to worry about being surprised by the rotation of tiles. It means that survivors more often than not are playing into me, even when they're in control of where they take the chase in terms of direction, because even though they're the ones who decide what tile we're going to, I'm already probably familiar with what's going to be happening at the tile before they are. Genetic Limits is my favorite anti-exhaustion perk denial when it comes to dead hard, slides, balanced landing. This perk does the job. It also catches a lot of survivors off guard, since I would say it's pretty uncommon at the moment. How it works is very straightforward. You hit a survivor with your M1, they're going to be exhausted for 8 seconds. That exhaustion timer does not tick down if they are running. So if you are actively engaged with a survivor, they are going to be exhausted for much, much longer than 8 seconds. And going back to that surprise factor, you know, there have been many instances where I hit a survivor before they vault a pallet with lithe. They don't get the lithe, so they can't chain the tile. I hit them when they're running up a staircase before they drop down, and thus they don't get the balanced landing, so they die immediately afterward. And my own personal favorite, Dead Hard. Dead Hard, if you commit to a survivor who is healthy and you have really aggressive pressure, you maintain your momentum and you stick on them, it is very, very likely, unless they have visual, what I've noticed somewhat recently, it is very, very unlikely that any survivor is going to be able to remove that exhaustion timer so they can use Dead Hard in their chases, which means you are able to consistently guarantee when you are chasing healthy survivors that it will be a 2 health state chase. You don't make the mistake in macro of thinking that you're going to be getting to a 2 health state chase and becomes a 3 health state chase. And, you know, that's one of probably the best parts when it comes to playing a killer who is low on mobility. Last perk, batteries included. I do think this perk is better compared to before. That extra 4 meters in range goes in all directions. So it's not just 4 meters on one side, it's 4 meters on the other, and, you know, vice versa. There's more complicated math to it, gang, but, you know, that's kind of not really something within my expertise, but I digress. And having that 5% haste compared to the 7% that it was before, while you do lose out on that 2%, getting access to the 5% from 4 meters earlier is really, really great, since I think that means you're going to find more situations where completed generators are giving you that benefit when you are engaged with survivors, because otherwise the reduced radius means that it's going to be more circumstantial. Yeah, you get the 2% bonus compared to the 5%, right? So you'd have 7% haste, but whenever you are not in range of the generators at that 12-meter radius, you're getting nothing, right? 0% versus 5% in that case when you have that 4-meter extra range. So that is kind of why, in my opinion, I personally see it as a buff. And yeah, we've got 2 matches. We'll give some commentary both during and after, of course, like I always do. And yeah, see y'all in a few. Intoxicated, you're exhausted. That's it. So no lingering duration of exhaustion after being intoxicated. Hey, someone with the prime, thank you. Thank you. But like, if you're already exhausted too, intoxication would pause your timer. But yeah, I think that'd be really, really good for as an idea, because it has counterplay, right? And it's still flexible. Oh my gosh, my ass cheeks are just not fat enough there, gang. No one is over here. Okay. Did I get the score event? I actually didn't check. Sometimes I get the score event, and because of latency, I don't get the yellow. Probably downstairs. Damn, that is 3 survivors downstairs on a gen. They're gonna probably go through the gate over here if I had to gander. I expect someone to come upstairs through here. I don't really see a point in going downstairs, right? Right? No? I mean, I'm just trying to start a chase at the bare minimum, right? But, like, I feel like someone's got to be rotating at this point if they 3-man the gen downstairs, yeah? No? Like, I'm not trying to just camp a 3-gen. That's not actually my intention here. It's just, like... Yeah, there we go. They did pop a gen, so we want to save our Q stacks. And the bust will not go through the bust to clown. I'm hoping they don't, y'all, but it's hard to really say. Pre-drop. Got him. 360 spin for the flare. You know, admittedly, if I just probably didn't need to spin for that, but I could have played that a bit. Maybe that was a bit unnecessary. He's still gonna with Q though. Sometimes you do want to do that though. 1, 2, 3. They're still downstairs, I think. And again, y'all, I'm. Did I see? No? Okay. Yeah, they're all downstairs. Gosh, I'm feeling so fucking meta right now, but I mean, how else do you play this map, y'all? Like, respectfully, I mean, like, is there really any other way you play this if you wanted to? Like, this isn't even me, like, trying to, like, bruh. I'm just gonna kick this shit. Bro, this is like your standard fucking game of DVD, it feels like. Holy shit. I'm talking about with regard to, like, oh man. And this is, again, the fact that everything... There we go, we're gonna slug under here and confirm now. We can get this now. And this is not how I wanted to play this match, gang, but like literally this is how that map. That's crazy that they're able to get away with that, by the way. It's literally so fucking crazy that they can get away with that. Holy shit, dude. I'm talking about the hook state and everything. Like, they literally still didn't hit second because of that Basekit shit. Oh my gosh, by the way, oh no, the ping buff doesn't matter. Ping makes no difference, gang. No, it just makes no difference. Like, that totally wasn't the reason why I got the down there. You might get this with Q. Holy fucking shit, let's fucking go. Oh, but it makes no difference, gang. We'll pick her up first. Dude, I actually don't want to bleed these people out, but I fucking swear someone's gonna 4% of my... Oh, they got rid of 4%. No, they got rid of 4%. I forgot. We're good. I literally almost forgot they did. Just AFK? Oh, no, I'm not gonna AFK. I'm not gonna AFK. Y'all, we're not like that. You know what I mean? I know that we had a frustrating match earlier, gang, but I'm not gonna do that. You know what I mean? I just almost forgot that I thought they could 4%, and I'm like, I don't want this game to keep going on, but since they got rid of that, I can afford to hook everybody now. By the way, I just noticed that they, nobody here abandoned. That's interesting. I wonder if they don't know that they can. Ain't this a situation? Holy shit, dude. Why is the match still going on? Everybody's hooked! Nobody can unhook themselves! Why is the match not ended? Like, bruh. If someone fucking delis, I fucking swear, dude. Oh my gosh. No, now that you said that, I'm moving in position. Nah. Okay. Dude, you scared me. Holy shit. think the developers are open to feedback, gang, genuinely. So I'm hoping and I would like to expect some changes, yes. I think they do hear our feedback, gang. I'm gonna say GG's. GG, well played. Damn, they actually had pretty good builds, too. So one of the reasons I was really happy to use this match specifically as an example in my experiment is that without even looking at my testing of Clown's pink bottles now compared to the developers' proposed PTB changes, is it really puts on display what I consider to be so unengaging and unfun about Dead by Daylight. You know, I don't know about y'all, I've been playing Dead by Daylight for years, and the way survivors coordinate their macro, using coordinate loosely, is night and day compared to how it used to be many years ago. Without even looking at Basekit borrowed time, when you consider how killers have to be a certain distance away, the removal of hook grabs, the extension of the hook timers themselves, all of that has culminated in very little interaction at the macro level, both between survivors themselves and also the killer. It used to be where survivors didn't sit on their generators before they went to the unhook. Back in the day, you didn't have the time to do that. If the killer hooked someone upstairs on Forgotten Ruins, right? If we go back, if we were to presume this match played out in a different patch, right? Back when hook grabs were possible, back when hook timers were reduced, right? Then what would have happened is that instead of finishing those two generators first, those survivors would have gotten off probably 10 to 15 seconds earlier. Because they want to make sure that not only do they get there before the hook happened, right, or the person hit the next stage and the hook timers would have been a lot less lenient in their favor, but they want to make sure they have the time after they get there to coordinate between themselves who's going to be doing what in order to ensure that that unhook takes place. Nowadays, you don't have to do that. If the killer is behind, if the killer, especially with low mobility, is proxying a hook, is looking to camp, not only does he have to do so generously for the survivor, his opponent, because otherwise it just enables them to come back when he's the one who's behind, but worst case scenario for you, you just got to run in and then you just trade. You go down in their place, you unhook them before they hit the next stage, you finish two generators beforehand because now the hook timers mean that you literally have the time to finish your generators and then go in to make that trade. Since no coordination after the fact is necessary, you just run in by yourself. It doesn't matter what your other teammates are doing, which is basically what happened in this match. The only difference being is that someone did get slugged underneath, which meant that since I was able to slug the other person off of the hook, there was no one else to pick him up when I was going for the tunnel, and also thus enabled the winning slug condition. I wasn't able to otherwise win this match by slugging if it wasn't for the fact that Sable went down underneath the hook when Trevor went in to make that trade. Because if Trevor didn't go in to make that trade with Sable already down under the hook, Sable would have been able to pick them up. We wouldn't have to worry about what Fang is doing because Fang is going to be either working on generators. She's probably going to be maybe meeting up with them topside, and then they're going to probably work the 2-mana generator while I'm now busy downstairs, right? Because post-PTB especially, right? If we even look at it in that factor, I wouldn't have had the pink bottle to down them before they made it through the portal. It's just really, really interesting to think about the worst direction this game can go, right? Referencing what I said about the pink bottle just now, but also just looking at the macro, right? Everything that I was just going into talking about how the state of macro for Survivor is so unengaging, not just between yourselves, but with the killer. And had things not lined up so perfectly, I would not have been able to come back from this. It's very likely that maybe I would have walked away with 2 kills. I probably would not have committed to tunneling Soma as hard as I would have going down into the portal because just due to every resource being available, due to me potentially missing the swing, have to recover from the swing and then going in there. I mean, not even factoring in me being lower on bottles at the time, right? All of that would have been enough incentive for me to not only continue committing, but being behind on everything. Because they would have probably picked up the slugs, again, especially if they didn't allow me to get the double slug. I would have had nothing going for me given my lack of mobility. And that's what's so scary. That is what's so scary, is that I think about how this game would have gone had my pink bottles been worse. And, you know, one thing I want to point out too is that not only was it the fact that my pink bottles was the only reason I had the slugging win condition, but you even go back further in the match, earlier into the match, and I didn't even talk about this, but I don't know if y'all noticed, That very first chase with Soma, where I hit him around that pre-drop pallet with Coup, that very likely, I will say after the fact now, reviewing the footage, would not have happened if this was post-PTB. If my pink bottles were 12% for 1 second, given especially you look at my add-ons, right? It is very, very likely, even with Coup, I would not have gotten that hit. And that means, by definition, Clown would be worse as singular tiles, right? If literally I'm not able to get a hit before or after a change that I would have been able to get beforehand, that means he's worse. It would have meant I would have to kick the pallet, right? Which is basically my whole point. We'd be kicking pallets. We'd be getting a lot more hits in dead zones, right? Everything I talked about in the last video about how that's a problem. And this, I feel like, you know, not even just factoring in the state of DBD and how just unengaging things are, but just going back to that win condition and how this basically was the only thing that kept me in. You know, that's one of the reasons why I feel like it would just pull people away from wanting to play this killer, because he's a killer who struggles in macro. Survivors don't need to coordinate in macro in order to counter him. You literally can just be a bot, just run in 1-for-1 trade. As long as your teammates don't get slugged under the hook, then you win, right? And especially post-PTB, it probably won't even matter since Clown doesn't have that slugging win condition. And GG's, you know? The only way you really lose against Clown is you either give him free health states in dead zones, right? You just basically go down in dead zones. You don't sit on generators. You don't pre-drop pallets, but you do all of those things, which unironically was what you were supposed to be doing against Clown beforehand, right? And Clown was better equipped in the event that you did to handle you in those situations. You know, it's just interesting to me, man. But that's the first match. I've got one more match for y'all. This one is less of a crazy snowball type of win. It's just more of a demonstration, just looking at gameplay and kind of just showcasing how Clown's pink bottles are necessary for getting you some hits. And had they been worse, would have definitely meant that, due to what I talk about when it comes to that exponential chase extension, right? Survivors having the ability to make it to a window or a pallet when you miss the swing after committing resources, right, to try and get a setup that otherwise didn't convert into value, right? That is basically kind of, you know, the whole point here. In which case, maybe I did deserve it. Just like I deserve to get sent to this fucking shithole. Maybe this is what karma looks like, gang. I probably shouldn't have double stepped last there. Now they're definitely going to be playing check and know that I'm like right here. I don't think that ping connects. No! It was supposed to go through. Remember ass cheeks? I knew you were going to fucking try to hold it. Ooh, right on the noggin. The karma going crazy. Are any maps that kind of nerf the Clown? You mean maps that kind of suck for Clown? This is one of them. I hate this map. The way you win on this map is the most unfun strategy possible, by the way. You hook someone on the smallest check, right? So, like, this is West Wing. You would want to hook someone on this right side of the map, and then what you want to do... Oh my gosh, y'all, look at that bottle play. By the way, Nerf Pinks, he abso-fucking-lutely makes that window. He abso-fucking-lutely makes that window post-patch. What the fuck? Oh my gosh, my fucking cheeks were fat enough. Looks like Heaven Delirious. Delirious is literally hell. Oh, I feel like Delirious might be better than RPD, TBH. I'll go ahead and kick this. I really need to find a time to reload. I actually need to find a time to pick an anniversary thing, a letter. Someone's gotta be intercepting this time, right? No? What the f... About to say, that should as fuck be in range unless the batteries would scuff me. I already had the pink out. I was better off just throwing it rather than retracting. Remember, pallet is gone. And again, gang, this is with the extended delay, right? I'm chaining the tiles using my yellows with the delay. Even being what it is. What's going on over here? Oh, damn. Oh, that's so stinky. I know I could tunnel him out, gang. We're not gonna go that far. I wanna get my other hook, my hook confirmed. Oh shit, he's over here. Where'd he crawl to? Oh, he's right here. If he unhooks, he would lose any tunnel too, by the way. Do we get haste again? And I swear I just heard him on a chest. That is him. I'll go for this person. Oh shit! Where you going? Hey, where you going? Wait, is this the person who was just off the hook? It is. Or was it not? I don't fucking remember. That James is great. They're all playing really well. No, this is a good team. We're kind of just really, I'm kind of, if anything, hopefully showing y'all like how you have to play RPD to win. You can't like just go for chases. You have to like hook opportunistically and kind of like play into the weakness of the map, right? Like he's dead now. That's why I'm not even worried about that person over there because I don't want to get slowed down. If I go and I hit him, then he likely is able to go a lot farther outside here. Because I can like walk in the direction now, right? Of where they are. What is that name? Ken Kanifki? Remember IFQ? Still get that yellow, but I accidentally got... Oh, I thought he was playing a different... Then I almost thought I just saw him right there. That's still regressing. Good to know. I'll go ahead and kick this. I need to start a chase and can finish it with someone. I think someone's actually right above me. I think I heard their footsteps. I could check over here. Oh, that's perfect. Remember, it's your ass cheeks that get you the yellow. Look at that. I actually figured he would go in the opposite direction of the pink if I waited it out, right? I don't even think I would have technically needed Zanshin for that. You throw the pink, break it, and then just go the opposite, because he's like, you'd figure he would go for the, you know? Like they would be thinking, you would think. I'm back here, my guy. He probably shouldn't have done that. Okay, a little greedy on my part. This means he can't get the yellow because of the delay. That delay is actually right there, the reason why he didn't get it right here. And it means I can probably play this. I can play this now. Didn't even technically need the pink. What on earth is going on? Shit. What's the point of Zanshin? So you can aim pink. Zanshin helps me understand the upcoming tiles in front of me, and it basically lets me pre-plot and pre-plan how I'm going to be playing my chases. In the same way that you study for a test, right? By, what's it called? Reading your notes that are highlighted. This is basically highlighting my notes. I see all the windows, all the pallets. Makes it a lot easier for me in the moment to figure out what I should be doing. And that's not even taking into account the R reading whenever they drop pallets. I should have just been fucking camping. Also, what the hell was that clown? That's still regressing. He must have just gotten on it. This is one of the harder maps, by the way, for getting value out of your yellows because of these jagged corners. Y'all see how the corners have all these tight turns? Ooh. She didn't take the bait. Got 3 stacks of Coup. She had to make this window here. She tries to go for it. I don't know about this call here unless she's got... She can't be using balance. By the way, she probably had balance there. Remember, I hit her with genetic limits. So if she was trying to just run out the front with her balance, she couldn't do that. Again, if they nerfed the pinks, that lunge wouldn't be possible. You're good, Speedy. I've also heard people like it on Pyramid Head. Also, Artist even. I'm just gonna camp this shit, dude. I don't feel like starting off this match anymore. We'll sit about right here. That should be good. One of the nice things about camping like this is literally we see them coming like a mile away. So yeah, GG's. Not a fun map in my opinion for Clown. He's upstairs still. Oh my gosh. I got caught. Man, it's the anniversary. Go on, dude. Once the anniversary is over, I'm not giving Hatch, dude. Because of my kill rate. We'll give it this time. It's anniversary. GG, sir. Thank you, sir. Alright, let's see. GG, well played. No, I know, but gang, it's anniversary, right? So as I was talking about throughout the match, RPD is not a good map at all for Clown. In fact, I would go as far as to consider it one of the worst. Both those jagged corners, in addition to the very convenient line of sight angles, make it very easy for survivors to punish Clown due to his lack of mobility. Either they break the 3-gen early and or they just make your first chase just way too difficult in order to create any early and lasting form of macro pressure, since your first chase just takes way too long. It doesn't matter if you have a chase build like this, right? When none of these perks are effectively going to come into play, especially in your first chase. Coup, you won't have any stacks. Zanshin, while you're going to see the pallets have no counterplay. Genetic limits, well, you're not really going to be able to have an easy time getting that first health state to begin with, right? So any type of exhaustion perk that the survivors may have, they're very likely going to get value from it. And batteries included. Well, you know, you need generators completed just like with Coup. So you're essentially playing perkless on a map like this when, again, even if you had the perks, they wouldn't have mattered because the pallets themselves, zero counterplay. And that means that with what little you're working with as a whole, right, is Clown, all you have are your bottles, which, as I even talked about, are nerfed in a sense due to how this map functions. So when we make Clown's pink bottles even worse, right, even though having a faster activated yellow bottle would make a map like this a bit easier for Clown to navigate around, right, since you'd have that faster yellow bottle, you probably wouldn't really struggle in those hallways as much. The nerfed pink bottle, as we saw, is the game-defining reason as to why you won't be getting hits that would otherwise change the flow of your matches. Because again, we had 3 different instances where if this was post-PTB, right, had my pink bottles had reduced potency and reduced duration, I would not have hit a survivor when I otherwise needed to. One of them being, going through all of them, very first chase, I believe we were chasing the Leon. There's a lot of new cosmetics nowadays, so sometimes I lose track, but I was chasing Leon after throwing a yellow bottle on one side of the staircase. I threw a pink bottle over the entire staircase to intercept him in the event he was going to take multiple paths. And yet, if this was post-PTB, that pink bottle would not have slowed him down long enough for me to catch him before he made it to that window. And if I didn't take a health state before he made it to that window, it meant I would have had a whole other health state to work through after we had gone to that next tile in addition to that pallet, which would have stalled out my chase, probably when you consider all of the other resources he would have had to work through on that side of the map, an extra 30 to 45 seconds. It probably would have been enough of a reason for me to consider breaking chase entirely, which means I have to now consider looking for a different survivor with my low mobility, who also has access to the strong line of sight angles for pre-running, and thus I'm almost assuredly going to be losing 2 generators minimum in my first chase, especially since, again, we decided to mess around and run a chase build, not necessarily expecting I was going to end up on RPD West. So you kind of see the problem there when we're already so far behind because we didn't exactly even expect to load into a map where the perks that I ran for fun are going to essentially not have any value. Well, now I'm only relying on my bottles, and even if my yellows would have potentially been easier as through a faster delay, it's not as if the stronger potency or anything would have mattered because we facilitated that through the sticky soda bottle. And with my pink bottle being so crucial in that first chase, right, having a reduced pink means that that yellow would not have mattered. 2 more examples. We were chasing, I think it was also the same person, the Leon, right off of the hook. I almost didn't even know that he was off the hook, so I didn't even comment on this in the match. But that Leon had Basekit borrowed time. His Basekit borrowed time, to my understanding, looking at the match itself, right? You look at when he was unhooked to when I actually hit him. I hit him within nanoseconds, I would say, of his Basekit borrowed time expiring as he was vaulting the window. So if my pink bottles were reduced in potency, he would have reached that window with just a few more seconds or nanoseconds, whatever you want to call it, of endurance left from that Basekit borrowed time. And this meant that not only would I have not downed him, I would have given him deep wounds, I would have given him the speed boost from that hit, I would have enabled him to just run forward and abandon that tile, go all the way up and around, and I wouldn't have been able to commit to that chase, right? So that is just 2 instances, right? Third instance, when it was near the end of the match, I already had 2 kills at this point, so probably not as impacting by comparison, at least when you look into this stage of the match. But if you were to just look at it in a vacuum, which does matter, right? If you consider that looking at it in a vacuum, what if this particular chase had happened earlier on in the match when there were more survivors still alive? Even with Coup, with the proposed nerf to the pinks, I would not have been able to hit Tari before she made it back to a pallet. And that was with perfectly orchestrated yellows, refreshing the duration, and a pink surgically placed right on the denial, right? Since the pink would have been reduced in potency, it would have been reduced in duration, half the duration with 20% reduced potency. That's such a big deal. And that was why I put such heavy emphasis on it in my last video. It's so crazy to me that there are genuinely people out there who think that you cut the duration of Clown's Pink in half and you cut the potency by 20% and somehow it's just no fucking big deal. It's so crazy to me because when you look at what we're given, right, this is why I said it's like giving up $1 to receive a quarter. This is all we're receiving for that. I mean, sure, technically there's the thick cork stopper and the Spirit Heartstorm, which in its own way is actually kind of a nerf and has its own downsides, right? But this is nothing. This is really nothing when you consider the cost, especially at the base kit, the nerf to the pink. And that's not even considering that even though this would be base kit and you have the option for the add-ons, your options with these add-ons are going to be worse than this at the base kit. It's crazy to me that literally you could run Flask of Bleach and Flask of Bleach in either 15%, and you will have worse pinks than this at base kit. That just doesn't compute. We want to nerf Flask in either a base kit, right? Like if we want, or excuse me, not a base kit. If we want to nerf those add-ons in particular, so that way they're not too oppressive, that's one thing. But nerfing the base kit in addition to the add-ons, to the point where together they're lower than this if you didn't take them at all. Like, that is a nerf. That's what makes it a nerf. That's how numbers work, gang. And that's what was always so crazy to me about the yellow bottle situation to begin with. There were people literally out there who always said Clown's yellow bottles were not that impactful in chase. And it's like, we literally had a whole situation in debacle over MFT with its 3%. And yet 10% for 5 to 6 seconds on demand, right? When understood how to utilize properly, somehow isn't worth using. Crazy to me, gang. I don't otherwise know how to, I could rant and rave about that as well, but I feel like that kind of detracts, again, from the purpose of this video. The whole point behind showcasing these two matches, in addition to just this test itself, was to show that even though Clown is receiving sticky soda bottle, smelly inner soul, stick cork stopper, etc. at Basekit, it doesn't actually make him better in chase. There might be some niche situations where maybe you get a hit that you otherwise wouldn't have simply because of the fact that the prepared setup in some situations necessary to get the yellow off in addition to your pink means that a survivor doesn't get hit in a dead zone. Okay, but again, that's the problem. That goes back to the issue, right? Looking at the PTB changes. You're just getting more hits in dead zones at the expense of not being able to use your pinks. And instead of Clown players only using their pinks, they're now only using their yellows, and they're not using their pinks, just like beforehand when they were only using their pinks, they were not using their yellows. Makes sense? And in the very, very same way, where those Clown players who were only using their pinks and were not using their yellows were running Flask of Bleach with either 15%, now these new Clown players who are only going to be using their yellows and won't be using their pinks, they're going to be running Sticky Soda Bottle and Cheap Gin Bottle. Make sense? See where we're going to be going next from here, gang? Do we need, to get a seer or a weather forecaster to tell y'all where this might lead Clown in the future? Do y'all see where my expressed concern comes from? Do y'all see especially why I'm unsatisfied and unhappy with these changes, right? It's because, again, y'all, it's like, what was so funny to me, too, there are actually people out there, y'all, and I swear, man, I wonder where the basis of their own opinions come from. And totally, y'all, it's okay to have your own opinions, right? But I swear it's like, I feel like there are genuinely some people out there, and it's, again, totally fine not to agree with me, but I feel like there are some people out there who are like, that guy's got 7,000 matches on Clown. He wrote 60,000 plus words on strategy. He's got all types of hours on tutorials, but you know what? None of that means anything. I mean, what does that dude's experience amount to, right? I mean, you really think about it, right? There's all types of, I've seen such stupid criticisms and refutals I really don't want to get into because I'm not trying to incite drama. I had to deal with some things at least off screen. If you know, you know. Recent matter, right, when it comes to a certain level of criticism against my opinions on this. But yeah, that all is besides the point. Hopefully, this video at least illustrates what I intended, right? Clown's pink bottles at base need to be post-PTB what they were pre-PTB. If you want to look at any type of changes to Clown's yellows, whether it's activation times, Basekit invigoration potency, any of that shit, what matters at the end of the day, the full circle, is that the combined speed difference, when you factor in yellow plus pink, cannot be less post-PTB compared to pre-PTB, excuse me. Because that's what we're basically seeing. We're seeing a 1 second reduced duration on the pinks. We're seeing a 20% reduced hindrance on the potency on the pinks. And that doesn't compute. That doesn't compare. Right? Now versus post, it's worse. That's why it's a nerf. So for those that maybe there were some people that weren't convinced, hopefully this does convince you. For those that just needed more examples, right, to look at, maybe give them a better idea of exactly how game-changing this can be, exactly how frequent this can be, right? Exactly why I'm so frustrated for the future and I'm very apprehensive for these changes. Well, there you go. But I think that just about wraps everything up here. I think I've been around the same corner, been beating around the same bush, So hope y'all really like this video. If you're interested in learning how to play Clown more, hopefully they don't go through with these pink bottle nerfs, and potentially that gives me incentive to continue updating my Clown guide, because I have a very detailed Clown guide. I'll be sure to link in the description. I also stream live on Twitch during the weekdays. I haven't been around as much. I want to get back into my schedule, or a schedule that I have somewhat put together, one might say. I've just been, y'all, I hope you'll at least just bear with me, y'all. I'm doing everything that I can, gang. It's you know, not to make excuses, but, you know, other than that, last thing too, if you really like these videos, I'd really appreciate it if you would like and subscribe, not just for yourself so you know when I post new videos, but also because it helps me out a lot with the YouTube algorithm. It pushes my videos to more people, which thus in turn means I'm able to teach and talk about the game to a larger audience, which helps more people learn about the game. And that's what I really like the most about making videos. So other than that, I hope y'all really enjoyed this video, and I'll see y'all next time. Later, gang.